So last week we saw a demo from Dean about routing, taxonomy routing. We saw new websites. And we didn't see that thing. Any topics or demos that someone want to show? Sipke would like to do a demo about Pulumi, but he doesn't really want
to. About what?
Pulumi.
Oh, Pulumi, yes. Yes, I do want to show it, but I have nothing prepared at this point. But I am intending to set up a showcase that will blow your mind.
That will be hard.
Well, yeah, so I wasn't talking about you, but about the rest of the people.
Okay. Great. So status, interesting status. So this I can close. The status is that this is all the issues that we didn't triage on Thursday because we mostly triaged PRs instead. So they are still open, such that on Thursday we know where to start from, or we can triage that first. But let's see status opening Git. If GitHub works, this morning it had issues, at least to push, not to pull. So Orchard one, I don't think we did anything. Let's check. February 13, no, nothing new. I will still update there for reference. Orchard core, so much. So last week it was the 18th. So we stop there. Dev is filtered. So what did we merge? Fix note in media Azure readme. Yes, so last week we talked about that and Antoine fixed it. It's just a typo in the markdown. Make alerts dismissible in the admin theme. So you can click on a little checkbox to close an alert. A new extension method, ContentElement.OfType. The idea being that you can iterate over all the properties, let's say the parts of a content item, and if this part matches the type you want, then it will let you know. So a little helper to find a part in the content item or a field in the content part if you know the type that you want. And if there are many of them, you will get all of them. And then you can check the name to see if this is the one that you want. Upgrade blob storage library because it was the old version of the SDK. There is a new SDK, and this one fixes some threading issues. So you see totally different name for the package and different code also. No more cloud block blob. Create custom admin theme guide. To create a custom admin theme. Rename ContentField display driver files to resemble class name to conform to conventions. Just renaming the files because they should be named display driver and not just driver, something like that. Rename GetContentItem by, oh, this is a breaking change, but not much. So the issue is that method that was called GetContentItemByAlias is that inside it expects a string that says what kind of alias, which can be alias, but can also be slug or whatever you want, ID. So it's like get something by a little name. And then based on the prefix of the little name, we can find this item based on this kind of tag. So Antoine renamed it by handle. I think we've talked about it during a meeting. So there is a more ambiguity between alias and alias here, which are actually two different things. So now it's called handle, and this can be slug or alias or whatever provider. And I think it's an alias provider still is used. And the previous method, which was used extensively if you were doing some decoupled usage, is now marked as obsolete. So you'll get an error message to know what to do when next time you build the source code. The examples here have been removed, but they are now here. Good job. Set recipe properties in CustomFile Step. I don't know what it is.
It allows you to set the root properties of the recipe.
Oh, I see. In CustomFile. So what is CustomFile Step then?
When you want to export a step in your zip file, in your recipe.
It's a new thing?
It was already, no, it was already existing. When you want to export multiple deployment steps.
CustomFile deployment step. I think there is confusion here. CustomFile deployment step.
When you export a deployment plan, you always add a file inside, and
yes, I think there's a confusion.
And this is the step that generates a zip file.
Yes, that generates a zip file, or that generates a file inside a zip.
Recipe.json file inside the zip.
Yes, okay. So I see. So yes, okay. So there is a confusion. So here I see the execute method on the export file controller. So this controller has this method. Where is it? this one, to generate a zip file.
Yes. If,
So this,
if one of the steps is a custom file step.
Look, I will continue. So this end, we have a custom target, I don't know, a deployment source or target, I don't remember, to either create a file, export as file, or send to another machine. And there can be many others, like, oh, send to Git or use an FTP or whatever, but we haven't implemented them. We have file and server right now. And when you select file, it will actually point to this action. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, okay, execute this deployment plan, and the result is a zip file, which we create here. We say, okay, let's create a new file, zip. Let's build the recipe and save it to the zip file and send the file name here, directly here, archive file name as a result. And inside this zip file, we was it part of your change, that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because it looks like it's not correct. So I was wondering if it was there or not before. It was not there. And before, what was it? Nothing. Okay, so yes. And I assume that so we need to have, okay, and we can have, in the deployment plan, we can have a recipe.json, but it's not mandatory. You added before new deployment plan file builder. Yeah, you. What is adding that step in the deployment steps? Is it something that is done automatically or something that the user does on the UI?
The user.
So if you don't do that, there is no recipe.json. I'm sure there is a recipe.json even if you don't, if the user doesn't.
Yeah, just use this step in particular to add the properties.
And what is wrong is that this step is just to add a file.
Yes.
But you made it, oh no, it's no more to add a file, it's to add a recipe file. And you have all these properties.
Yes.
So if you want a recipe JSON step, create a recipe JSON step that has the properties and does only things for recipe JSON.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is just a custom file. It has nothing to do with display name, description, author, voice hub, and everything here. And that's why I'm wondering how and why you get this one and where did you get it from? If it's the user that added it, but I don't think so. Maybe it's automatic that we add one with the recipe content, the recipe JSON content.
It's not automatic, but if you don't add one, you won't have an execute target. You want to have an action available to export your file, your deployments.
Interesting.
Steps.
Sounds weird. Oh, I didn't go down. Okay, that's why. So custom file deployment step, and here custom file deployment source. Yeah, I don't know how it's getting added. But yeah, so the comment is that these properties, they are not to do, they have nothing to do on this step.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a different step. So copy paste different things. You can copy paste it and rename it to another thing. Keep the custom file, but get a recipe file deployment step.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
validate LinkField URL, index of that. So if it has a hash, then don't take it into account to validate it. Okay, looks good. Add missing sender SMTP field, which has been fixed here later. It's just that if we file that, we were missing the sender field for the SMTP message that we want to send. Because there is a sender and a from, there are two different things, and we didn't expose, or the author and the sender, but we didn't expose all these options. So now they're exposed, and if one is missing, it's using the other one, as it is today, doing today. And the fix from Peter Davis here, which is to add the field in the UI for the workflows also. Or maybe it was not there, but in the workflow, something like that. So it's missing a UI piece, and also a fallback value if you don't provide it. So it seems like it works now. Sender expression and author expression. And if you don't set the author, then we use a sender as the from value. So good. Going back there, update to ASP.NET Core 3.1.2. I blocked it at some point, but it's actually okay. There is a bug in ASP.NET Core 3.1.2, but you only have it if you use pipelines, the pipelines package / namespace directly. If you don't use it, there is no issue. So we don't use it directly, so we are fine with this version. Is the UI frozen? Can you see my screen? Can you hear me?
I see your screen and I can hear you.
Correct logging. So some comments we made last week, I assume. When we log, so well, it's no more logging. Don't use $ anywhere when you log, and then you will prevent any issues. But here there is no more logging at all. So whatever, that's fixing the issue. Sort, but we talked about it during the PR, I think. Sort dropdown widgets alphabetically. I think when we saw that during triage last Thursday, I was saying that it looks like we fixed the widget ordering 10 times. Or maybe it's like in 10 different locations and we fix them one by one. So now when we list the widgets in this UI, it's ordered, and in many places actually. Documentation for placement. And I think it's just a few fixes, yes, for placement. The tags PR was merged. And there was a discussion about it on Thursday. I won't say a long discussion, but there was a discussion. Dean is not here. So this is the tags PR, a big PR. So it's a new, is it a new field? It's the same field. So is it a new editor? I don't remember. What did we say on Thursday? Probably a new editor. Taxonomy field tags editor settings driver. Probably a new editor. I hope so. Yes, you see here. What concerns me is that thing. Or is it the name of the editor? Probably the name of the editor. So with the tags editor, we see this driver. Otherwise, we see the default driver. What the editor does, so it shows the list of taxonomy as tags, the taxonomy terms as tags. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing it does is store every display text of every taxonomy term that is tagged inside the field itself under a custom dynamic property, which is not available on the field class itself, but it's not available on the field class itself, but there is an extension method. Where is the extension method? Tag name extensions. Okay, there is an extension method called getTagNames. Also the setTagNames that sets it on the field. And there is a property on the field itself, on the JSON document of the field, that's called TagNames, that gets all the tag names as a string array based on the display text when the tag was added to the content item. So if you change the display text of a term, then every existing content item that was tagged with this term won't have the new display text. So that's a caveat for using this property, the getTagNames on the field. Okay, but that will be super useful when you want to just list the names of tags and the tag names never change, which they should never do. You don't change the name of a tag from one day to the other, usually. If you do, then that's your responsibility to update the content items or not to use this property, but to resolve all the content items for every tag and use the dynamic display text. And what we talked about was that maybe we want the same possibility on even the default taxonomy field and have that property on the field itself as a static property by explaining the limitation of this property. So that's what we talked about. Okay, so big PR from Dean again. Thanks, Dean. Produce cleaner image resize query string just to remove an ampersand from the URL. It used to be ampersand with, now it's just with. Okay. To expose term names on taxonomy field, yes. So instead of having only that for tags, on every taxonomy field, even if it's tags. Documentation for BagPart, explaining how to use it. Some little templates also, very useful. Updated code mirror. We can just assume it's better. It's looking for RTL now. Interesting. Not sure what it does, but it does stuff. add author expression editor for the email task. This is the one we saw. Fix for same-site cookie issue, also very important PR from Mathis. This is, as recommended by the ASP.NET team, this is checking if based on the browser vendor ID, what default value we should send for the same site cookie. If I'm not mistaken, before we never, well, ASP.NET or most servers never set the same site property of the cookie, and it used to be a default value like none by default. But now Google will assume that no value will mean lax. So if you want to keep the none value as it was before by default, we have to set it. So there is an update on the .NET framework that sets it by default, but there are configurations to change the behavior. But this behavior should not change for some browsers that won't be updated. And this is why the only solution is to actually check what kind of browser is doing the request to know what value we need to set as the default, like before, unspecified or none or lax or whatever. So that's an issue. And this is done now, and we merged it right before Chrome changes it by default in the next update, and I don't know exactly when, but I think it should have been this week or last week, but they postponed it by a week or two because they realized that a lot of websites will be broken. Some old websites also that you will never update. So that's a big issue. If you have issues authenticating to a site, then you can be sure that is related to that, or that you are using Chrome with the new version. Thank you, Mathis, for handling that with the help of Kevin. And this one, throw exception when part type or field is invalid, just some type name checks for content types to have an issue before it's saved in the database, and then there are edge cases. Okay, so no custom letters, no underscore in the beginning, no numbers at the beginning of a content type definition also. So now it's preventing it from happening. Questions? Topics?
No, I don't have any. Maybe which issues you want priority on, or?
Where is the meeting here? I lost the meeting. Crap. Here, this one. Why is this view this way? Join. I'm lost. Okay, that was the view I wanted. Sorry. What did you say?
Well, what next issues for us to pick up? Just because there are still some open, some prior. There's one labeled 1, but it's for 1.1, I think.
So 1.0, we have labels P0. Nothing in P0. P1, that, let me just get an overview. P2, not much, and P3, maybe more. Maybe more. Okay, P1. P1, user accounts improvement, data subset specified cannot be converted to zip file timestamp. This one should be fixed automatically. I think we don't have anything to do. But I'm keeping it open until we ship 1.0, or the packages at least, and review that. Guidance and statement configuration, duplicate record the error in workflows. This we need to try and repro. I think that's what we said in the comments. There should be some repro steps at the top. User account improvements. Yeah, so I think we should look into this one. I copied it recently, 26 days ago, from another discussion. It's about security and user accounts. 5, 6, 7, 8. So what? Let me fix the markdown. How does markdown work? I don't know. Okay, must be that. So let's see, unicity. What is number 4? So this must be number 4. The element image should be unique as well. Number 3. Number 2. And number 1. See, almost. I'm not sure how to do it on this one. So right now, I will keep it this way. Update. So this one, I wrote some IDs based on another issue. Did I link the issue? This one. So right now, yeah, there are questions and things we need to solve. Is it possible to create a new account with an email that already exists in database? And I think the answer is yes. Right now, is it possible to create a new account with an email that already exists in the database? I think we should support being able to log in with the username or an email. Right now, we can just use a username, but if you put an email in the username field, then that's like an email, but it's not the actual email. And it might just be the only option to use an email. I don't think we should support being able to log with only the email or only the username. Prevent the other one. As long as we don't expose if the entry exists in the DB when the login fails, to prevent lookups. So the idea is that we should support it, but maybe with a setting. But you could be able to type the username or to type the email. Okay, and maybe a setting will just allow one or the other, but we should be able to use one or the other. And today we can just use the username. Okay? Please interrupt me when you disagree with it. But I think it's pretty common sense.
Yeah, we only use email as the username. We just say use your email to log in because we don't use username because it's confusing.
You in your site, but today if I take Orchard Core, it's not the case.
Yeah, okay.
It's username.
Yes.
Then unicity of all the things. Usernames should be unique and case insensitive to prevent case spoofing. Okay, so username should be unique, and that's the case today. Emails should be unique and case insensitive to prevent case spoofing. And that links to the first issue, which is I think we should support being able to log with no. So the first question, is it possible to create a new account with an email that already exists in the database? Okay, and so this is related to that point. We should prevent duplicate emails. I'm not sure this is the case. And maybe there is an option in the identity libraries to do that. Usernames and emails should be unique as a whole, such that an existing email can't be used as a new username. Okay? So when we say, oh, when you type a new username, we need to check that the username doesn't exist, we should also ensure that an email with this username doesn't exist, or a username with this email doesn't exist, whatever. Okay? Because then if we allow to look up for emails and login and username, then there could be also other issues. Like this PR, which is the one which is referenced below, we should be able to enforce the email to be valid before enabling an account as a setting. To be valid meaning to be verified. Okay? So you might want to say anyone can create an account, but you can only log in once the email has been validated, like the email validation workflow has been approved.
We have that, right?
Maybe. And I'm saying that everything here is not done, but these are things that we should ensure. So yeah, probably we have that, the fact that, yes, probably that. Antoine will know also for sure because he's doing that. Okay, setting in the admin. Usernames should not be changed if they are used to represent a user reference. That's a general concept. Usernames, like admin, should not be changed if they are used to represent a user reference. Meaning, if a content item owner property is admin, I should not be able to change the username admin. Okay? Or if we want to be able to do that, we should introduce a new identity for users and use it. And also store usernames for historical data, not reference integrity. So the idea of this point is that when we do the owner property of a content item, we use admin, which is a username. So if we want to be able to change a username, we need to actually use something else than it to reference a user. So we might want to use physical identity, like a GUID or a number, to reference users. So you can change usernames, that's fine. But we might also want to store the value of the username when the reference was made, as denormalizing the data if we want to display it without loading the user, or to store whenever it has changed, but it's more like audit trailing, to store the name of the user when it was assigned or referenced.
Yeah, okay, but then if you make a new account, let's say you have admin and you rename it to admin2, does it mean that when I create a new admin, then it will say username already exists?
No. Because it's admin2 now.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. But you could also say we just, if you want to store the name, we just create a user account event that says username changed. And if you store the string of the username, then you will have to provide a handler to update.
Yeah, but we don't want. We can provide the event, but we don't want to do that for all content items. So that's why we need to reference just the value of what it was when it was referenced.
Yeah, then a GUID would be better. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the same issue because we use the sub ID from OpenID.
Okay.
And that's the YesSQL ID, and that's not very unique.
Well, there are two IDs in. Well, yes and no. You should not use a
database ID. No.
Yeah, there are two integers, so there is no logic there. That's why in the content item we have this ID that is generated on the client, and it's a GUID, but with less chance. Okay, we need a GUID, for instance, would be better in this case. Yeah. Emails can be changed as they are not used as user identity, and they shouldn't because they can be changed. Okay. The same reasoning there. The question here is that do we want to allow usernames to change, because we don't do that today, but emails we can already, and we are not using them as identity, so there is no issue with that. I don't see why the username and the email should not have the same value, even if they can be changed individually. Okay, as long as the value doesn't collide with another existing user. There should then be no validation on the username, but validate the email. I don't see why the username and the email should not have the same value. Yes, just saying that if we introduce some logic that usernames and emails should be unique as a whole, like a username should not, when you create a new account, a username should not match the email of someone else. Okay? In this case here, we could have that. We could have a username and an email match only if it represents the same user account. Okay? That's it. So in case, so that there is no thing that should prevent someone from changing their username and their email to be the same value, or some system to do it for the user, just asking for an email and then also using it for the username. That's okay. Yeah, so all this should be in sync with OAuth module, so email cannot be changed. So a setting that we could also have settings for everything, like if that makes sense. So please comment on that, saying like, no, we should not be able to change an email, at least via a setting. If username can be changed, we need to apply changes to the content items that have unless we use a dynamic static ID for username and use this ID to reference content items. We will just store the username at the time it was referenced as display text, not as, and the links will still go to the actual user using the username, the user identifier, but the username could be used just as display text to prevent a lookup on the database. Yep, thank you, Jasmin. That's what I meant. So we agree on that. So yeah, so that thing, some of these are very important to be checked for 1.0, like this question, or preventing checking unicity. The rest can be done later, like, oh, can we change that? Can we not change that? The identifier might be important also, to use a static identifier. This could also be done later, because even if today we use the username as the reference identifier, it won't be a breaking change if we change it to be a GUID, because you can already assign admin as the GUID value. It will be unique. Okay, so it won't be a breaking change. But then you will be able to change the username, so that will not break anything. Yeah, so this one, just I wanted to go on that because that's an important one for security reasons. Not maybe all the points, but at least some of the main points have to be implemented. This we see that it will be fixed soon. Well, it's already fixed. It was just transient issue on NuGet. Guidance on stateless configuration. So we won't be able to implement everything for that, which means having everything in a database. But we'll see with Jean-Thierry. He's been doing some work already. I will sync up with him to see what's missing there. And to retriage this one, duplicate record errors in workflow, we need to repro it. P2, occasional image distortion when using Azure Blob Storage. I think we just need an update of image sharp. Then translate a dynamic content. Isham is still waiting for me to look at that, so it probably won't do it for 1.0 because I need to check that. It's not critical, but it would be nice to have, but it won't be a blocking on 1.0. So I will retriage it, milestone 1.1 better than 1.0x, and keep the label. So this one is waiting. This one, okay. P3. What do we have? User authentication non-persistent. Well, I'm not sure. If we have been able to repro that. Consistent E. Disable workflow with HTTP request event still triggers. That is important. But there is a PR for that, so that's good. It's just that the PR has too many things inside. Taxonomy term localization, we need to look into that, but there is a mitigation, I think. One. We won't block 1.0. How to localize the agency theme. This is documentation. I will keep the documentation. We can postpone later. Privacy and GDPR. It won't block, but that would be nice to have it before. Document dynamic content part templating, documentation, rebuild the indices after import. I think we have designed some solution for that. Syncing localized content terms. Recipe should be idempotent. Dean has a draft PR for that, so we'll keep it there. Set a page, throw 0 on bad username. Okay, probably doesn't happen again. I will. Yeah, you see the require unique email. It's a property now in identity. Okay, so just adding client-side validation for now. Content type definition record and other names are confusing, and I think Antoine made a PR. I made a PR, but Antoine worked on it. I'm not sure the state of that. We'll see. Antoine, please comment on the issue if you have an update. Suggestion: change BagPart name. You bet it won't change now. It's a nice name. It's not the best, but we have something called the BagPart. Could have been called the container part, but and collections for list. Some something else we need to look into?
No, not very clear. Maybe I can start with the GDPR part.
Wow.
Because yeah, all the others, it's.
You don't know what to do on the others. Maybe you don't. Yeah, maybe. I mean.
Yeah, I would love the stateless configuration. I would love that because we are desperately waiting for it. But
I think it's not much to do actually.
Yeah, it's the distributed cache provider thing and the Redis things.
It's another step for Redis. We can already have stateless if only the tenants list is in database. I think that's the last thing we have, because even the Lucene settings, when last time we worked with Jasmine and Jean-Thierry, we moved that, and this is when we started the distributed cache changes that Jean-Thierry is working on. And then there is nothing more to do than the tenants list in the database, and that should be fine.
Yeah, you can store that on the default tenant database because it's always there.
Maybe, or if it's not there, then it means there is no tenant, so there is nothing to load. I will, yeah. Let me put a comment on that.
Oh, you can take credit.
Oh, that's a good idea. That might be a good idea. There might be other issues I'm not thinking about right now, but the only issue I think about, I have a solution, so that should be okay. Oh, and you already mentioned here. Good. So yes, not talking about the. I'm not. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not sure even that we have talked about the. Maybe we have talked about it. The way we want to reorganize that in dynamic. Yeah, we talked about it. Dynamic node hosting tenants. Like you can have lots of nodes, clusters, whatever you call them, pods, but they will host different tenants, and then tenants can be relocated on different machines, so it can scale out properly now. Well, after the changes we have in mind. So yeah.
So you can create basically a farm of Orchard core nodes, and you can. Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Today they are all duplicated on all nodes, but the idea would be that they will be moved across nodes also, if we want to, by configuration.
Cool.
Okay. That's about it. I got some news for Harvest. Harvest. We have a room booked. We have a room booked for the dates we mentioned last time. It's not yet official, okay? I'm just sharing the dates and the location that is booked. June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. This is what has been reserved now that we will have for sure. Sipka, I sent you a link. Did you see?
Yeah, I saw it. I like it.
What do you not like?
There wasn't Anything I didn't like? I guess it depends on the number of attendees. I noticed that the maximum is 50 people. Might be a little bit, cozy if everyone comes. But at the same time, I do like the atmosphere. The basement vibes. I like that.
It looks nice. So I got a place from someone. Yeah, what?
It's a dungeon?
It's not. No, because there are windows in a dungeon. There are no windows.
Oh, okay. So we can escape. Okay.
Just holes. I don't know. No, yeah. My only concern is that it's a 50 max space, and based on the pictures, when it's 50, it's not 51. It's shoulder to shoulder on small chairs. That's my only concern right now. At the same time, if we are just 40, I mean, there will be lots of space. How many were we in New York? I don't remember. There was lots of space in New York still, like lots of. We didn't have. Did we have tables? We had tables in New York. So
did we?
I think so. Yeah.
But there was plenty of space in New York. That's for sure.
Nobody remember. I'm sure we had tables in New York.
Yes,
sure.
there were tables.
Okay, so this configuration here for 50 max is just seats. Okay, and seats touching each other. So a laptop on the laps, and that's it. And I'm not sure there was electric plugs.
But
available.
Does Lombik use that team photo with the attendees on YouTube? He uses them as the.
That is a picture from New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so you see
taken
on the table,
from the audience.
Yeah, you see tables and you see appliances on the table. So.
No, but that was New York.
Cords. Yeah.
So yeah, and it was a requirement. Yeah, so that's my only concern. So I have to check.
Yeah, but it's also 100. No.
And even when you look at
230 there, yeah, I think they use 230 in London, right? Volts.
I know, but that's not a concern for me. The concern is to have a plug, because if you don't have a plug, it can be whatever voltage you want. You don't have a plug.
Yeah, but it's just like a special. Yeah, probably you will have adapters for them all over the place.
Usually, you don't need adapters for when you have a laptop. Your connectivity, your transformer works with every voltage.
Yeah, but there's a plug on the.
Yeah, you just need the adapter. Yeah, you just need the adapter, not a transformer. Yeah, so
yeah, adapter. That's
never an issue. That's never an issue. So yeah, my concern is the 50 max, and it's really packed at that point. So I don't know how many Sipke will join. That's one, and I don't know. The other discussion we could have is to organize a workshop. So I also mentioned that to them, and they are okay. So we could have a workshop on the 22nd, and then the sessions on the 23rd and 24th. Workshop meaning training-like day, where there is less people than during the sessions, but it's really like learning based on a story, a goal, to use Orchard Core with different sides of Orchard Core. It could be theming, building modules, building headless site. I have no idea, but that's the kind of thing we could do. And this will be like a separate event with a separate fee, because it will be more expensive. We want to pay the guys that do that. If I participate, I have no fee. I don't care. I have a salary, which is fine already. But if we ask someone else from the community to work on that, then we might want to pay them. So I have no idea how to do that. But if you have a suggestion, or you want to do that, you can try to contact me. It might be only one person doing it, 2 person, 3 person. or one lead and some people helping the attendees to do something. If you have ideas about what content there should be, or you would like to see if you could attend, like, is it building a localized website? Is it working on how Orchard works internally? Feel free to share some ideas, but we will have one day for that, and we will have tables because there will be less people. It will be a small group.
But it's a bit up to you. Eh? What theme would you like for the event? Is it like SaaS and making modules on top of SaaS modules and then utilizing the modularity? Do you want to be focused on the CMS part?
I can imagine it's largely up to the attendees what the majority are interested in, and then maybe we could do some sort of poll and figure out what some of the most popular topics might be.
So I'm asking, please share what you would like to learn, and then based on what's popular, we'll define a schedule and agenda for that event, and then advertise it, and people will decide, no, I don't care about that, or yes, I want to participate.
Can we make something on GitHub, some voting? Is there something for that?
Yeah, we can use Gitter and let people express what they want. Not many will, and most will be happy with whatever is there at the workshop because they will just learn everything.
Yeah.
So that's good to have some global ideas about what people would like to see, and then for sure we'll create a module and deploy something. Then the details, and one day is going very fast. But I have planned for that workshop, like the SPNet workshop that is done. It's something that is then open source and people can follow and give also locally if they want. So that becomes some training material. Okay, so here the value is really that it's the first time and you get to be taught by Orchard core experts, so you can have all the questions you want and you will have very deep explanation about why and how it works this way, so that will be very useful.
Will the session be recorded?
I don't know. The sessions, the 23 and 24th for sure. The workshop, I'm not sure. So yes, this should be recorded, like we do every time, and we are pretty good at that now. Second, we might not do the workshop, okay, if we can't make it happen. But I think that will be great. It might be also the last day. I don't know. Should it be the last day instead of the first 2 days? Maybe that might be interesting. I don't know.
Well,
I think usually
first day is probably traveling Monday.
Unless you do the workshop, and then the last day will be traveling. I mean, I'm just thinking about in terms of content. Is it better to do a workshop before the sessions or workshop after
usually
the sessions?
Workshops before the sessions.
They are usually before then.
Yeah.
Because when you look at NDC, they are in the weekend, and then it starts on a Monday, the sessions. But here it's just weekdays. So I don't know. Just talk to us and send on Gitter what you think, and we can decide. It's just for us. We do it for ourselves. So let's make it the way we want. Okay, that's what's good. For the space, maybe we should do an attendance poll just to have an idea about how many people will come, at least for the sessions. If we see that there are already 50 people that want to come, then maybe find another space. If we just get 25 people who want to come, then okay, 50 will be good, and we'll block at it, even if more after want to join. But if we have the dates, if we have the location, will you come? If it's a matter of cost, this is usually in the 100 or less. Maybe it was even less in New York. I don't remember. But that's the max usually we ask for the event, because it costs us very few, and for the price, also the idea would be that because it's small, there will be no lunch there. There might be some snacks, but snacks and drinks, but that's it. No lunch, and also it's in London, so apparently there is lots of food opportunities outside. So like Amsterdam, we'll do like 2 hours break and let people have lunch outside. Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
New York, there was lunch provided, even also for the price. But you got more value than the price you will pay in snacks and drinks and food than just the price of the ticket. This won't be the case this year. You will get a T-shirt like every time, but that's it. I'm not looking at the okay, before remote session, the remote session will be recorded after that, but no live. From London to London from the US. What I do personally, when I go to France and I go to Amsterdam, I leave from Vancouver. It's much cheaper for me to go to Vancouver and take a plane than leave from Seattle. That's my experience. But then you might not live there. Nothing else for the harvest. Yep, so that's it. Any ideas you want to share, a suggestion, please share them on Gitter or send emails or Skype me or talk to us on Thursday and Tuesdays and we'll arrange that. So yeah, maybe do a poll just to see how many people will join. Good.
Yeah, and topics, huh?
Topics, well, we find topics, don't worry.
Yeah.
We always find topics. That's not the issue. Yep, topics or workshop ideas. And same thing, we'll find something for the workshop. We can do something concrete very easily. That's good. Yep, attendance poll, sessions and workshop also probably. All good? Other questions?
Nope.
Okay.
But
so
we need to ship 1.0 before harvest, huh?
Oh, we'll try.
No try.
Yep. Okay. All good.
Okay.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you on
Bye-bye.
Thursday. Bye bye.